Oh, come on. I think that students have the right amount of homework, they just don't have the right amount of motivation to get it done.
So that is a very valid point. I hear what you're saying.
Thank you.
I think that for each class, it's very doable, but when you put all of the classes together, it's very overwhelming.
I do agree with this statement a lot because I feel like teachers are like, if you don't want this much classwork, then you should be taking like my class, like you should take other classes. But I feel like there's examples in like European countries, I think it's like the Netherlands or something, where they like don't get any homework, but all their test scores and like all their averages are so much higher. So I don't think that all homework is necessarily like bad, but I also don't think that a lot of it's productive. So if we had like less homework, but it was like more focused and more productive, I think it would be better.
When you have a student who does more than just school, a job, or activities, they have way too much homework. A girl last night said she stayed up till 2 a.m. just to get all of her stuff done, and she's a cheerleader and in various activities. It's too much for them to balance.
Now I get home at like 4 usually, right after school, and I use my time efficiently, but I still usually don't finish most of my homework until 11, and then even after that I still have other things I have to take care of, like practicing instruments, studying for tests the next day. And if you really think about it, that's unreasonable for someone who's using his time wisely to take like that much time doing homework.
So from a teacher's perspective, and I know that I'm guilty of this, but I know that I could get the same outcome with less input, so I could become more efficient in helping my students.
Yeah, like these top schools expect like perfect GPA, perfect test scores, like lots of extracurriculars, like something's got to go, and I think homework is at least the magnitude that exists now. I think that should be cut down.
School negatively impacts students' mental health.
Obviously school can be a source of stress and all of those things, but I also think that school is an opportunity for support and friendship and relationships that can be bolstering to people who struggle with mental health and just stress generally.
I feel like the individuals probably have some underlying stressors, and then just the added pressure of school might contribute to that, but I don't believe that school is a negative impact.
I think that, yeah, like, especially people that take advanced classes, like, often, like, I know this is going against what I'm saying, like, when I disagree, like, often, like, do get stressed by that. But that's, like, that's your own choice to take those advanced classes. Like, when I took, for example, like, AP Chem last year, I was super stressed out about it all the time. Like, I even had to miss, like, a couple days of school, like, to get caught up on work, but that was, you know, that was my choice. I made that choice. Like, if I didn't want that, and I didn't want the positives and the negatives that came with that, I shouldn't have, you know, I shouldn't have signed up for that type of class.
We're inherently social creatures, so what would the opposite be? Well, it would probably be some form of isolation, which actually would be worse for their mental health. So being at school does provide them an opportunity to engage individuals and therefore improve their outcomes.
Even in like the survey we took, what, 2 weeks ago? There was a question about how would you feel if you automatically got put into an advanced class? And so that's even like taking away your choice like completely. Like you have the option to drop, but if you don't feel comfortable with your counselor or you just don't like have the time to drop a class, then you are stuck in that advanced level. I think it's important to note like the difference between academic school and social school. So I used to really like school, and because of all this pressure, I'm shifting more towards liking school just for people, and that's about it.
School staff should be armed.
Ooh. Disagree. There's no gun in the world that can stop bullets from another gun. So arming anyone with a gun just makes the problem worse. You're putting more bullets in the air, and none of those bullets are going to stop bullets. Reducing the number of guns reduces the numbers of bullets.
And I also wouldn't be okay with other people on the staff having them.
Yeah, me too, girl, me too.
If you give like a teacher a gun, well, in the first place, they should only be going to mentally stable teachers, but mental state is like not a constant. It can change, like it can go up and down, and let's say like one day they come in like a dangerous mental state, then they have a weapon that they can use to like hurt people. So I feel like it shouldn't just go to like all teachers, no.
and they already have like so much to focus on, like teaching the class, like getting like lessons in order, like grading stuff, like that's just one thing on top of it, and I don't think that they would be necessarily like in the best position to do that. And I think like the risk of, you know, accidents happening would be increased.
But I feel less safe having more armed people in the school, or any for that matter.
All students are meant for and should go to college.
Okay, so the reason I'm at like the grade is because although I don't think every student like may be able to go to college, I think every like student's goal should be to go to college because like you're challenging yourself.
There's a lot of like YouTubers who make millions of dollars, and a lot of them don't go to college. Like, if you have something that you're passionate about and that can sustain like you and your life for a long time, and you can make money and you can have a good life and you can be happy with what you're doing, I don't think college is necessary.
All students can do college. I think whether that's some, and by college I mean like something beyond high school, right? So if they go to college to do like an apprenticeship or something beyond, a training beyond high school, I think yes, everyone absolutely can. But do I think that everyone should go to like a community college or a four-year school? No, it's not meant for everyone.
Objective number one is to find something that a student's passionate about, and then let that dictate the path.
Everyone in life has like different goals, and not everyone can reach the same goals. Some people might not have the intelligence to be able to reach college, and some people, their end goal might just be to finish high school. Like, whatever your goal is, you should try and reach for that. But not everyone's goal is college, and that's okay.
Technology and social media positively impacts learning.
I'm going to stay neutral because I, again, have a boy who uses a lot of technology at home that distracts him from his work. But then again, I think when I saw Chromebooks being used in the school, how that has helped a lot of students, especially kids that maybe didn't have access to a computer in the past.
In my mind, I'm isolating social media. Like if I'm like thinking about Twitter and Snapchat and whatever, like, I mean, you can get information out that way, I guess, but like, are kids focusing and are they using it appropriately? Like, not always.
I know a lot of teachers would probably disagree with this, but I think that more technology as a whole, not necessarily focused on social media, positively impacts students, because like, hello, it's like 2020 almost, like everybody's using technology. Like, the people who make the most in our world like are with like tech companies and like people who have made like social media platforms. So you can't expect us to like sit all day in class and not go on our phones. That's why I like teachers who like allow you to go on your phone, and they're not like completely, they let you do whatever you want, but like they're more casual about it because they understand that like we live in a technological world where like that stuff is important, and there's so many tools on our phones that we can like use instead of like, yeah, like pulling out a dictionary and going through it is great, but if you can just pull out your phone in like 3.5 seconds and look up a word much faster than you can find it in a dictionary, why wouldn't you do that, is how I see it.
I don't know, I'm kind of this, like, I'm on this side, but I'm kind of at it from like a different angle than you did earlier. I think that like social media as a whole has like a lot more negative impacts than positive as a whole thing. But I think that on education in particular, I think that social media and like the implementation of things like Canvas has like really positive impact.
I feel safe at West High.
I feel safe at West because every single day that I walk into the school, like, I'm really in no physical danger because yeah, people disagree with me, but that doesn't mean they're going to physically hurt me.
I've probably been here the longest, 26 years, and yes, and I can tell you there's never been a day when I haven't felt safe in this job.
And I'm 1 year behind her. I've been here 25 years, and I would totally agree with her.
And I'm even with her, and I would agree with her.
I think there's also like so many different elements to like physical safety, because there are school like shooting type safety, but then there's also like if you walk around like the back like area that's completely open for athletics at night, it's like really dark and there's so many like construction things that someone could hide behind. That like gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Like in that situation, you just like bring a flashlight or just not go there.
Oh, wow.
What if you're getting home at 11:30 from like your sporting event that was in like Des Moines? Like,
if someone,
you can, you're
I
not
feel
just
like-
like gonna can't just bring a flashlight. Also, if someone's going to attack you, like flashlight or not,
I feel like,
But when you're coming like back from a sporting event, you're coming with a team, right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be like? There's
But like once
you
they
still
all
leave
go
alone.
away, like you can sometimes be the last
yeah,
one
if you're
there,
waiting
and
for your
it's-
ride and nobody's there.
And I feel like
possibility.
possibly girls are would be more
Yeah,
targeted
exactly.
than guys.
what we're trying to say is that we all have very different experiences at West High, and we can't really account for what someone else is feeling. But individually, we mainly feel safe.
But not really.
Because of all the possibilities that could happen.
So like I
Just
think
don't be paranoid. That's like negatively impacting
That
everyone's
is
mental health.
literally not an option for some people.
Okay, being
It's a choice.
paranoid
It's not being
and being
paranoid.
aware of the possibilities is very different.
Yeah, I mean it's just like not it's not being paranoid, it's being like educated and like seeing like what's happening and like saying, oh, this could happen here because
I don't walk around every day like in fear that I'm gonna get shot at school, but I
Aren't you
am
aware?
aware that because I said what I was saying before, that I don't feel safe, but I also don't feel unsafe. I'm just aware of what could happen, and that doesn't put me in a place where like I'm super scared all the time, but that also doesn't make me feel like everything is super sparkly and perfect and like nothing bad is ever gonna happen to me.
And I understand where you're coming from, but you have to acknowledge that you have a certain amount of privilege. As a white person, like me, who is a male, you have privilege.
All students have the same opportunities. Higher education.
I would only be like this much this way. Because we put a lot of thought into everything we do, and whether there's equality, equity. We talk about this at length in our faculty meetings. We talk about this in all of our material creation. I mean, everything that we do when it comes to standardized testing, when it comes to formative assessments, is this an accessible assignment? That has been, for the last couple of years, a major focus. So, although I have to accept that it is not true that all kids have an equal experience, we do attempt to make it equitable.
I understand that all students right now are not at the same level. There's some with like 4 and above GPAs. There's some who are like not doing so well in school, but I feel like everyone has the potential to be at the top. So a student right now, let's say, who has like 1.3 GPA, if he really wanted to and worked hard enough, he could have the potential to be just as good as any of the other 4 or above students. It's really your own mind, your own effort that dictates.
I disagree with that. I don't think that necessarily if someone just wants to achieve something that they'll be able to achieve it. Because I mean, people have varying levels of privilege, like Amelia was mentioning earlier, but I'm thinking income when it comes to this one, because especially like a lot of the times like the top students come from higher income families. And I'm not saying that people with lower GPAs come from lower income families, but those that do come from lower income families often don't have access to a lot of the opportunities that the people from higher income
Can you give us
families
like
do.
examples of that?
In terms of extracurriculars, and I mean a lot of the times like the people who are involved in extracurriculars have been doing it for several years in terms of sports or instruments or things such as speech and debate. Like they've been doing it more than school, and a lot of the times this costs money to get done, and a lot of times the people involved in these things come from higher income families. And in terms of someone trying to achieve, you know, go from like a 1.3 GPA to 4 and above, like a lot of times that takes resources such as tutoring as well.
We all have certain biases that maybe we haven't identified with ourselves that make it not quite as equitable as we'd like it to be. But I do think that that's our goal. I think that's everybody's goal, and I think maybe it's more out of ignorance or not being in touch with some of those things well enough.
There should be a school resource officer at West High.
I knew this was coming.
I'm gonna. I've been in a school with a resource officer,
Yeah.
and he was very, very good at his job. I've also been in a school with one that was not. But I'm going to be on the agree side because seeing a well-hired, well-positioned person as a resource officer provides the school a level of safety, provides certain students a level of safety, and provides all of us an opportunity to, you know, be up to date on the most current police procedures.
I think there's just a big stigma with who they are and what they do.
Right.
And I too worked in a school that had an SRO, and it was wonderful. And this is maybe from like a school counselor perspective too. Like we work with kids who are in like domestic violence situations, or I mean there's just a lot of situations where just having an officer there to bounce ideas off of and like what does community support look like would be awesome.
So I disagree with there being a uniformed police officer in the building. The way that person is presented to the students on a daily basis would affect my opinion of whether or not they should be there, because good, bad, or otherwise, not every person, particularly students in marginalized communities, see a uniformed police officer as a safe harbor.
But I don't know, what's your name?
Mason.
Mason was saying earlier about how like think positively or whatever. I feel like if there was an officer in a uniform and armed, it would be really hard to not think about him and not think about what could happen, because like you can't control your thoughts, so it would be really hard to just like not think about that all the time. So that's why I think it would be a bad idea.
One person could not be everywhere at one point.
Yeah.
Well, in response to what you had to say, I think someone would be a lot faster to get from like the 9th grade doors down to the band room than someone would be to go from the police station driving to West High. So my thoughts on this are that what's currently being done is not very good. It's like the worst of doing nothing and the worst of like doing something, because it's the worst of doing nothing that it wouldn't really work. If someone had any little bit of determination to do something terrible of this nature, that person would be able to get past the current measures with minimal effort.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like, it's so annoying. Like, I have to like pull my car, I have to like dig through my backpack, pull my card on the thing just to get to my class, because I first opened, like just to get to my class, I gotta do all that stuff. And that's just, like, if you're gonna do something, do it properly.
In terms of a security measure, I think that an armed officer might be more harmful than helpful, especially when it comes to the police's relationship with people of color. Because I feel like for a very long, for the longest time, I mean, people of color haven't really had the best relationship in terms of trust with the police. And I think if we were to have an armed officer here, that might create a disruption here. And therefore, I'm not sure, it might make students feel even less safe, although the intention of the, you know, having the armed officer there is to make students feel more safe. So it'll sort of not really help.